Hello there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. We're back again with more Commanders, main set stuff from MH3. And yeah, I think Modern has seen the introduction of more bears than anything else, and MH3 is another one because we've got Kudo, king among the bears, green and white for a 2-2 bear. And other creatures have base power and toughness 2-2 and are bears in addition to their other types. I had to read this card a couple of times and then see it in action against me before I really clicked that the fact that this is a global effect. I was being a bit slow, I'll be honest. It affects everybody's creatures. So every single creature on the board when this is down is a 2-2 and is a bear. Which is great because it minimises some of the threats of the Eldrazi. But it also pumps up some of the creatures, constructs I'm looking at you. And you really need to find a way to make your creatures bigger than their creatures. And the easiest way to do that, from my point of view, are enchantments that pump up the power and toughness for everything, and also +1/+1 counters. And that's what I've done with this deck for Kudo. So here we go. Right, so 33 creatures in the deck. A little bit of everything else and a fair few enchantments because they kind of make the deck tick. So, at the beginning, Azorius Shepherd stops all our stuff being countered because we want to get our creatures in play. We have a fair amount of ramp creatures. Avacyn's Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, Elvish Mystic, Fire and Order Elves, Lowar Elves. We like all these because, with Kudo in play, they're 2-2 ramp creatures, especially the Birds of Paradise. 2-2 Bird of Paradise? Sign me up. Beyond that, Goldvein Hydra makes an appearance. I still like this card. I still think it's good. Works really nicely with Kudo because it's a 2-2 when Kudo's in play. So if you're really stuck, you can just pay 1 mana and have a 2-2 in play. But green and X, whatever you can pump into it with Kudo in play, makes it X +2 basically. Then if it dies off, all those treasure tokens really do help you further down the line. Moving on from there, Anafenza, Kinstree Spirit makes an appearance. All our things come into play. They aren't tokens, therefore they all get to be bolstered with a bit of luck. And Alulia, a queen among bears. We've got the king among bears. We better have the queen in the deck as well, his partner. Whenever another bear enters the battlefield under your control, choose 2 +1/+1 counters on a bear, or a bear you control fights target creature you don't control. Yep, okay, take your pick. 40k pick card, Biophagus, 1 of the green, add 1 mana to any colour. This mana is spent to cast a creature spell. That creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So you play your, Birds of Paradise off the Biophagus. It comes into play. It gets a +1/+1 counter. Kudo makes it a 2-2, so it's a 3-3. Biophagus seems like a pretty damn good inclusion in this deck, alongside Bristling Bill. Obviously, Bristling Bill's already a 2-2, but landfall triggers, put some +1/+1 counters around. When you've got a load of +1/+1 counters around a spare mana, 2 green and 3, double up all those +1/+1 counters. Your creatures will be big enough to do everything. Emeria, Soul of the Accord. When it becomes tapped, you get 1/1 soldier with a lifelink. That becomes a 2-2 with Kudo in play. Thank you. Farmer Cotton just creates you X halflings and X foods when you play it, as well as coming in as a 2-2 himself, so brings a swarm with them. Gala Greeters comes in as a 2-2 elf if Kudo's in play. Cast the creature, you get a +1/+1 counter, then you get the treasure token, then you get the life. That's the order I would always do this on this card, no matter what deck I'm playing it in, just so we're clear. Tiny bit of Proliferate coming up now with 2 of the cards. Hutali's Raptor and Pollen Bright Druid. We will use these to proliferate because hopefully we are putting +1/+1 counters around everywhere, and it makes our creatures even bigger, so that's why they're here. Incubation Druid helps with the ramp side. Priest of Titania, because we've got a whole load of elves. We might as well have this in here as well because other people play elves, not just us, so more mana for us. Had to have 1 standard 2-2 bear in the deck, so I went with Runeclaw Bear, just so we're clear. Sylvan Carotid pumps up, gives us a hexproof defender that lets us tap for mana. With the King of the Bears in play is also a 2-2, so it's an okay blocker, maybe. Wilson, the Refined Grizzly. Can't be countered. Vigilance, reach and trample, so, proper bear. Arwen, Weaver of Hope, Lord of the Rings style. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it, equal to Arwen of Hope's Weaver of Hope's toughness. Yeah, we need to pump her toughness up a little bit, but she's an elf, and we do have other ways of doing it, so hopefully we'll be okay. Azusa's here, just help us out play extra lands and eventually become 2/2. Elvish Archdruid, ramp, plus and pumping our elves up, which is important. Evolution Sage, more proliferate to get the +1/+1 counters going. Rex Sage to deal with annoying things. Sandstorm Salvager, yeah. We get to put +1/+1 counters on tokens. They gain trample, that's fine. And we do get to make a golem when it comes into play. So it's not the end of the world having this one, I think. Shalia, Voice of Plenty, is also here. Once we get extra mana, again, another way to track around +1/+1 counters, but gives us and all the planeswalkers and creatures we control hexproof, so they do get a little bit of protection. I want to draw cards. Toski's a nice, easy way for me to do this. Tributary Instructor. I put this in because it's Merfolk Shaman, I get that, but because we're so focused on +1/+1 counters, some of our creatures will die at some stage, so we might as well get a bit of card draw off them when they do die. Urban Dagger Tooth is also here, and when it's dealt damage you get to proliferate from Modern Horizons 2, if I remember correctly. That's fine. A little bit more proliferation never hurt even. Defiler of Vigor. Yeah, whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Thank you very much. Like this. And finally, Trostani Discordant gives all other creatures +1/+1. And with Kudo in play, brings in a couple of 2/2 soldiers with lifelink as well. And then we gain control of everything. Right, Planeswalkers, only a couple. Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants, so we can put some +1/+1 counters on 2 target creatures, return things from the graveyard, mana value 2 or less. And if we get the emblem off, I'll be very happy. Let's put it that way. Go from there. The green-white Ajani, Hero of Mentors. Mentor of Heroes, sorry. Just to chuck around the +1/+1 counters. Maybe look at the top 4 cards. If we get to gain 100 life, something's really static on the board. So, yeah. But the 2 +1/+1s are pretty good. Only 2 spells in the whole deck, and they're ramp spells. Nature's Law, 3 visits. You can argue with me. You can, cut some of the creatures that you maybe not want to play. Kodoma's Reach can go in, the usual selection, Cultivate, but I just went with the 2. And I kept because we've got so many creatures at ramp, I kept the Artifact ramp low as well. So Soul Ring, Signet, Diamond, that's it. There's only like 6 ramp spells in the whole deck, so it's not the end of the world. Elixir of Immortality is here for when things get killed off and we need to get them back in our library to draw again. And Ozoleth, the Shattered Spire. If you want on more +1/+1 counters, would be put on an artifact or creature you control, put an extra one on basically, and then you can pay 1 and a green to put something on it as a sorcery. Yeah, that's fine. The enchantments, sorry, my hay fever's got a bit bad. The enchantments are where this deck's really at. We've got Authority of Consul, so we slow everyone down a little bit and gain some life as they enter. Hardened Scales, because we are chucking around +1/+1 counters, so might as well get extra ones as well. The first pump enchantment, Flowering of the White Tree. I do love this one from Lord of the Rings, giving all our legendary creatures a bit of protection. So Kudo, Wilson, the Queen, Alaya, the Queen, gets a little bit of a pump and a bit of ward fun. And then non-legendary creatures get +1/+1 as well. Yeah, okay, cope with that. Oath of Ajani, yes, it does make our planeswalkers cost less, but there's only 2 of them, so hey hum. Playing this for the ability to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control makes perfect sense, so that's it. Always Watching gives all our creatures +1/+1 and vigilance, so they get bigger. Branching Evolution doubles up the +1/+1 counters, and Court of Garen brings them in every upkeep if we're lucky. Fight Rigging also lets us chuck some +1/+1 counters around and eventually get the hideaway happening. Glorious Anthem, Gears Anthem, sorry, is also in to do that alongside Glorious. They both do exactly the same thing. Double green or double white, depending which one you have in your hand, +1. Rites of Flourishing for the extra card and land draw. Card draw and land play, sorry. Tribute to the World Tree. All of our creatures will be power 2, so we'll be getting some +1/+1 counters on them all the time, especially with Kudo in play. Thank you very much. I'm happy with that. Path of Discovery lets us do the whole explore trick, get an extra +1/+1 counter. Smothering Tithe, because sorry, it's a white deck, we do need the mana, we'll get it this way. Cathar's Crusade chucks around loads of +1/+1 counters, so we don't need to keep an eye on, they just trigger and happen, and I'm happy with that. Mirari's Wake pumps everyone and doubles up our mana production. Rabble Rousing, another one, the other version of the Hideaway Lands from Streets and New Capenna. Whenever you attack one or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green white citizen creature tokens that become 2/2s because of Kudo. So that's nice. And eventually when we get there, we can do the Hideaway bit. One thing I have included that is a little bit tricky to play, I'm not going to argue that, but I think it's a benefit in this deck, is Unnatural Growth. 1 and 4 green, and at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until the end of turn. Yeah, that does give you a static ability that in combat every turn your 2/2s are a lot bigger than everyone else's because they come 4/4s with before they get the +1/+1 counters, don't forget. So bear that in mind. Oh. From there, the last 2 cards in the deck. Sorry, my door's just flicked open, so I'm just showing it. Virtual Loyalty. Get a nice little 2/2 knight, which doesn't change anything with Kudo. But we do get to chuck around some +1/+1 counters when the Virtue hits. And Zendikar Resurgent, up the mana ramping, and give us a card every time we cast a creature spell. Land-wise, just a whole load of green-white lands that run all the way through the deck. A couple of things that I will point out. Gavany Township is here to give us some more +1/+1 counters. Khan's Bastion's here for the proliferation that we can do. And finally, where is it? Vitu-Ghazi, the City Tree, because if we do have mana sitting around, we might as well make some saplings that with Kudo in play become 2/2s instead of 1/1s. And that's it. That's my take on Kudo. It's a fun one. It's kind of a tribal deck. We start the week with a tribal deck, we end in the week with a tribal deck, but kind of anyway with this one. But I think it's fun. I think Kudo's great. The only thing I will say right here, right now, is play Kudo when you think you can win by pumping up all your creatures, because, you know, having everyone else's at 2/2s may not always help you. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next week with some more videos. Until then, see ya. Bye. Oh, subscribe if you can. Come and follow me on Twitch. See me play the decks. Yay. Bye.